This video is dedicated to Christian Roberts. Christian, thank you. Hello all. Decided to try something different during my week off because I was getting pretty burnt out on Commander on Magic Online, and I thought that we'd record a few Jumpstart videos because that's what I have been I've been spending my gold on in Arena. You have both gold and gems in Magic the Gathering Arena, for any of you that don't know. And in Jumpstart you get to choose 2 half decks and smash them together. You can look up the deck lists if you want to, but I don't think I'm going to bother. We'll just go with +1 counters. And it seems as though heavily armoured would be a good idea. You would assume +1 counters for the late game, heavily armoured for the early game. Yeah, we'll try it. And then you can see that 1 win equals 1 card, 2nd win equals another. They are guaranteed rares or mythics. So we just need to get 2 wins in this. We keep all the cards that we build a deck with as well. Let's see who our first opponent is. Alright, pretty good opening hand, I think. A nice curve on that. The tribalkai is a trample enabler, tempered veteran. The first ability is really good. Second one, not so much, but yeah, turns out that this is a pretty good deck to smash together. I assumed Celestia would be good at +1 counters. Just play the tap land, name white, so that is now a Celestia tap land. And a turn 2, 1/3 Flying Pegasus for our opponent. I think we're going for the Forest and the Tempered Veteran. This is just +1 counters and proliferate, so we'll go for the Tempered Veteran first. And our opponent looks like they went for the heavily armoured deck as well, or whatever it's called. This is a buff spell, so we'll go for the tribalkai. And we'll put a plus counter on the Tempered Veteran. And that can put a plus counter on itself if needs be, and it, like I said before, it will have trample. Could just leave it back as a blocker and put a plus counter on itself at the end of our opponent's turn, or during blocks even. A Feat of Resistance puts a plus counter on there. They might have wanted to wait for that, because it does give protection from a colour. Anyway, going in with the now 3/5 flyer, they put another plus counter on with the Tempered Veteran of their own. Another land for us. I think we'll just go for the Makeshift Battalion. The sooner we can start swinging in with that, the better. And again, that does put plus counters on itself. And speaking of putting plus counters on itself, we'll do that with the Tempered Veteran now. Swing in for 2 damage with the cat. And, oh, that's not good. Our opponent goes for Surge Striker, which is a double striker. If they get plus counters on that, it will become a problem. A 5th land for us. And then looking at Divine Arrow is 4 damage to a target creature with flying. That might be relevant. I don't know. Let's just go for an attack in with everything. And then we can always put a plus counter on the cat if they decide to block, which it looks like they are doing, falling for our little combat trick here. So we'll go Lifecrafter's Gift, which is put a plus counter on a creature, then a plus counter on each of your creatures that already have a plus counter on them. So taking our opponent down to 6 thanks to all the big buffs on our creatures. Seems as though we've got a pretty convincing deck here. These 2 halves seem to meld together nicely. Alright, Legion's Judgment will destroy the battalion. And 3 damage in the air to us. I think we've got our opponent here. Thanks to the Invigorating Surge, that will double the plus counters on a creature. It isn't instant, but we'll just do it now. We're going to, yeah, we've got Trample, so our opponent couldn't do anything there. We were going to proliferate another couple of counters, 1 on each of our creatures. And our opponent obviously sees that. And let's see what our rare is. We get, oh, Gadwick the Wizened. Might make a Brawl deck around that, but well, it's just good to have as many legendary creatures as possible available to us if I decide to start making Brawl decks. I am enjoying Arena, so I think I will start playing Brawl. Okay, second game for our second rare. And again, we've got 3 lands, pretty heavy hand with regards to mana though. I do like supply runners though, so we'll keep that. Just a land for our opponent, we get into the Beetle, that's really good, that will put plus counters on itself. Yeah, the Horn Beetle is really good in drafts as well. I've been playing quite a few M21 drafts. And our opponent gets down his own Horn Beetle. We will follow suit with a Horn Beetle. They go for the battalion. They won't be able to put a plus counter on it next turn, but it's still a problem that we want to deal with. We'll match them again. This is a mirror match, I would assume. Seems as though our opponents picked exactly the same decks as we have, or half decks. They get into the double striker. Battlefield promotion is plus counter on a creature. That creature gains first strike. That might be relevant as part of a combat trick. Let's just drop a land. And we'll go Trusty Retriever, and that can put a plus counter on itself. I don't think we care about retrieving artifacts or enchantments with this deck. Just want to make a big +1 counter army as quickly as we can. Unfortunately, don't own a creature with 4 power, so the Beetle doesn't get a plus counter. Okay, Tempered Veteran for our opponent. They don't seem to be getting into their plus counter enablers, but deciding to swing in here and then pulling back. Should really just swing in with the double striker, but then we will swing back in at them. And then going back in with the 3 creatures, they can tap down the Veteran with the Siege Striker, and they do, so that's a 2-2 with double strike now. I think we say no blocks and just take this. Oh, and that's really good. I didn't know we'd... Some of the half decks, you get different rares in them, so you have to select them a few times whilst playing Jumpstart on Arena. But we've got into Branching Evolution. That makes me want to play a plus counter Brawl deck all on its own. Alright, so do we just play that this turn? We'll get the enchantment down anyway. And then let's just get another body into play. If we have to take another big hit, then so be it. We'll be able to make some blocks at least. That can put a couple of plus counters on itself, thanks to the enchantment. And still don't have enough power for the Beetle, unfortunately. It would have jumped up to a 4-4 itself. But if we go for the supply runners next turn, then yeah, we'll be able to start turning sideways and all of our army will have plus counters on them. Alright, our opponent seems to be thinking. Hopefully they haven't gone AFK on us. Maybe they don't fancy their odds of winning this one. Or maybe their computer's crashed or something. Well, they're about to time out for a second time here. So I think that just passes the phases over. Or maybe it just passes the entire turn. They get a plus counter on their Beetle anyway, thanks to the battalion. We get a land, play it straight away. Go in for the supply runners. And we're looking really good now. This is a plus counter, a couple of plus counters on all of our other creatures. And again, our opponent's timing out, unfortunately. But that enters and gives all the plus counters. A couple more on the Horn Beetle, making it a 6/6. And then if we swing in with the Battalion, we would get a couple more counters, but I think I'm just going to play it safe for another turn because I want to hold up the first strike instant. I don't think our opponent's with us anymore. So we might just win by default here. If we do win by default, I will start another game for the sake of giving you all a real game. Yeah, looks as though our opponent is going to time out here, so I don't know what happened there. They've lost connection or gone AFK or something. No idea. So we get our second rare at least. We can play for as long as we want with this deck, but we don't get anything after the second rare. So it's just a case of doing it for fun at this point. Let's see what card we got. Goblin Goon. I think it can't attack or block unless you control more creatures than the defending or attacking player. Yeah, it's just a big cheap goblin. Doubt I'll ever run that. Let's play another one. In fact, let's look at the deck list first. Oh, we've got a Champion of Lambholt. That's really good to have. You get more excited about cards that you wouldn't normally be excited about because you're adding to your collection all the time. It's like starting a collection from scratch. So Champion of Lambholt's really good to have. Horn Beetle's really good. Pollen Bright Druid, it's always good to have. Oh, and Mikaeus the Lunarch as well. Yeah, we've got some good rares from those two half decks. Basri's Acolyte is really good in draft as well. I'm drafting that all the time in M21. That is additional plus counters to all your plus counter creatures. That will be part of the Defender deck or whatever it was called. And then we've got the dual lands as well, whatever those ones are called. Let's play another game and hope that we can get a real one in this time. Okay, I don't think we've got an incredible hand there, to be honest. Wildwood Scourge we could play for 2 mana. Maybe even 3, depending on how fast our opponent is. We'll keep it just for the sake of maybe encouraging our opponent to stick around. / not stomp on them. Oh, Phyrexian Reclamation. Yeah, I'm not used to seeing these older cards in Magic Arena. Anyway, we'll go for the 2 mana Wildwood Scourge. Oh, and I always hit cancel on that. Wildwood Scourge, 1 mana, pay the 1 mana and autoplay. And they go for a Magma, which will tap and ping us for 1. Another good one in draft. Maybe we just... Yeah, I think we swing in here and offer up the trade. Or, I like to think our opponent would assume it's a trade. Yeah, they don't fall for it. Pretty obvious that we were going to buff there. Jump it up to a 4/4 and take our opponent down to 16. That was a plus counter, and then double the plus counters on the creature. Phyrexian Broodlings now. That's a sack outlet. And put a plus counter on it, not really too worried about that. If they want to sack their creatures, that's fine. I think we're going to smash them too quickly to make them want to sacrifice creatures. They're going to want chumps more than anything. And I don't think they're going to have enough life for the Phyrexian Revoker. So we'll just play the dog, put a plus counter on itself. That puts an additional plus counter on the Hydra, and we deal 5 to them. Okay, another land. We've got the fight card now that we could use to get something out of the way. Try and encourage them to block. I think we just swing in first. We don't need to use our cards to get things out of the way necessarily. Okay, just chump in with the black card. So we'll just let 3 points through and kill their black creature. And then let's fight the Magma, put them even further behind. That Phyrexian Revoker, they're only going to be able to... In fact, they can't activate it at all now because we're going to turn in sideways at them next turn. So that's a fairly useless card. They went for a burn spell. That is 3 damage to our creature. It already had damage on it from combat. So that gets rid of our big Hydra. And now they are playing a big 5/4. Yeah, we just swing in. We can have first strike on our creature. I imagine they will want to trade here. And they do. So we'll put a plus counter and first strike on that. And then it's 8 life our opponent's on. So I don't think we can get them next turn. Maybe if we get a counter doubler again. Now, going for the Phyrexian Reclamation, yeah, in order to get a blocker out, that makes sense. Okay, a Light Walker. That's just a 2/1. It can become a flyer. We'll just swing in with this and encourage the block. They do not block, they let it through, just hoping that we don't have a combat trick. A Pillar of Flame, so it's obviously a burn deck that our opponents made. And we get into Patron of the Valiant, which is a flyer. I doubt they can deal with that. So we'll probably get them next turn. And our opponent doesn't think they can do anything about it either, so just deciding to explode. So that's that. That is Magic Arena. That is Jumpstart. Sometimes you can make really good decks with it, sometimes not. But you're really only playing it for the rares that you get. We got some really good rares here actually, so that probably means that we are going to make an Emriel Brawl deck that we can do plus counter shenanigans with. I don't know, you'll have to let me know what you think of that. Hopefully you all forgive me for trying something new and you all decided to stick around to watch anyway. I'm tribalkai on the eedi-H channel. Thank you for watching.